Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Show Notes. Show Notes is a special program online where we do a live conversation with our artists who are performing at the Museum of Making Music as part of the San Diego Sound Project. The San Diego Sound Project is supported by the Conrad Prebys Foundation and the Carlsbad Cultural Arts Office, and it really is what we want to do is we're highlighting just a fantastic artists in San Diego. They're not exclusively up and coming artists. Some of them have already made their mark in town, and we just want to share their music because we love it so much. Our next person who we are interviewing today, Mariela Contreras, is one of these artists who is just phenomenal. How I came to know her music was through her her Spanish language renditions of popular tunes like George Ezra's Budapest, which is phenomenal. Just a phenomenal video, phenomenal recording, and phenomenal interpretation of that music. However, she is an amazing songwriter in her own right, and we were actually going to be celebrating her music. And we also have another special guest with us, David Castañeda, who is a veteran of our Show Notes and our Mom at Home program and is going to be our guest interviewer for today. How are we doing today? Welcome, everybody, to the program. Thank you, Mariela, and thank you, David, for being here. We're so excited to learn about you and your music. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, BJ. That was
Welcome.
A beautiful introduction.
I'm going to turn it over to you now. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, let's do it. Hi, David.
Hey, how's it going? So I have to start off this interview by saying I'm not only I'm very lucky to be not only your collaborator, right? But I'm also a huge fan of your music. I'm so excited to be able to sit down with you and try to explain a little bit to everyone watching exactly how your music works and where it's coming from and your story and where you're coming from as an artist, because I can say as someone who I try to write music to the best of my ability as often as possible. So when I get to play music at the caliber of your music, it's so inspiring, and I'm so excited for the show that we're going to play, mainly because of the quality of the music. So I want everyone to understand that this is not a show you want to miss. It's going to be an amazing show. Mariela is an amazing artist and an amazing person. Start out that way. But Mariela, so you're, as I understand, singer,
Yes.
songwriter, and educator, right? So how did you come to be such a multifaceted, amazing person? Where are you from? Where were you born?
Well, thank you
where did
both
you
for
grow
that
up?
beautiful introduction. Okay, let me start with one question at a time. My educator is going to come out right here. I'm just going to start with one question at a time. Well, I'm Mexican. Both of my parents are Mexican, and I grew up in the border, so I'm totally a border child. I grew up, the first years of my upbringing were in Tijuana, Baja California, and then my parents decided to move to the U.S. when I was around second grade. In second grade, I was like 8-9 years old, and I just always lived with I always think of myself as a border child. I'm in both places at once. Thankfully, gratefully, I'm very grateful for the ability to be able to go back and forth and be part of both the Mexican culture and the American culture. So that's the beginning of it. What was the other question?
So we now know where you're born. You
Yeah.
grew up kind of like on both sides of the border, we can say, in this area. When did music start?
Ooh, music started. You know what? As as soon as I can remember, I've been listening to music, and I've been in touch with music through dance since I was a little girl, since I could speak pretty much. My parents would always ask me to perform in front of their friends, and they wouldn't need to beg much because I was ready to perform as well. So I've just been sharing my voice with whoever lets me share it, and whoever wants to listen since I was a little girl. My family has been extremely supportive with music, and that's just facilitated and paved a way for me to sing in both languages.
What are some of the sounds that you remember? So we know that you started music and performing, and the arts has been a huge part of your life since very, very young, since you said before you could remember. So what are the first, some of the sounds that you first remember? We're talking about like genres or even instruments, or paint us kind of like a picture of what
Yeah.
music was when you were younger.
Yeah. Well, in Tijuana, I remember my dad had a marimba in the you would come into our house, and my dad in the door in the hallway, he would have a huge marimba, and I remember playing that marimba, and not really knowing what I was playing, just playing whatever sounds I could make. And then of course it was too big and did not fit the home aesthetic, so so my parents quickly got rid of it. But we did get a piano. There was always a keyboard in my house. I was always the one that gravitated towards the keyboards, and my parents got me into piano since when I was around 5 years old, and I loved it. I loved the piano. That was my first love, and I just, people could not get me out of the piano or singing. I was always doing both of those, and I always wanted to show people what I could do. Look, mom, like I can play the piano. I can play this song. I would always use my ear. I was always big on like listening to songs and playing them ever since I was a little girl.
What were some of these songs? What kind of musics?
I listened to a lot of Mexican pop. That was the very first of it, Mexican pop. I would listen to a lot of mariachi. I would listen to a lot of boleros, a lot of Los Panchos. I grew up with Luis Miguel singing all of the covers from the traditional bolero music, and the mariachi music. I listened to English music from my dad. My dad would always bring the English stuff. It was always mainstream pop music, though. I didn't really get into jazz or like more of like the American influences. I got into those when I was older. When I was much older, but at home it was always traditional music, traditional Mexican music, and Mexican pop. That's mainly it.
And that's a lot. That's a lot of music, right? Like that's a lot of music. It's funny you bring up Trio Los Panchos, because that's one of the things that, I mean, that music in and of itself is so gorgeous. That type of trio, romantic music, the lyricism in that kind of music is amazing. That tradition is wonderful. So if anyone wants to check out some amazing music, trio music is fantastic and it's popular all over Latin America. Mariachi, amazing. Many mariachis here in San Diego and also Los Angeles and all over the world now. That play tremendous music. There's a rich folkloric tradition in Mexico that has such a high level and sophistication of not only songwriting, but also lyricism and dance and technicality and musicianship. It's so much. It's a lot of music. And as a segue, so I know that, so now we know that since you're a little girl, you were dancing and you were singing, you were listening to these types of folkloric Mexican musics. When did the songwriting start? So I know you as an amazing lyricist and poet. So when did all of this start?
Later. I think I think of myself as I love to cook, and I love to cook a lot of the Mexican traditional plates, and I always think of myself as a very a plate or a meal with a lot of different ingredients, and I've been taking in a lot of the influences, and I mean, it all started with the traditional Mexican music, but growing up and starting to sing professionally, I started getting influenced by different musicians around town, different musicians in Mexico, in Tijuana, and that started adding to my, let's say, my plate, and my ingredients and my different influences, and I remember accessing that path through pop. So a lot of it was like Luis Miguel. Luis Miguel introduced me to a lot of the Pancho stuff, and then I mean through with the jazz, I went in through Michael Bublé. I know it's pop. I know it's pop, but through his standards and his interpretation of the standards, I started tracing back the original music, and I started listening to the different interpretations of different jazz standards, and that's when I started like really really loving jazz and starting to trace back its history, and then starting to see the beautiful mix of jazz and Latin music, and that just opened up a completely new world that I'm still very very young in, but listening, singing with other people, learning from other musicians has added to my plate of ingredients. So I'll keep going with the kitchen metaphor, and I've been influenced by every single one of those artists, and I've been starting to just cook my own recipe, I guess, and making my own songs.
That's wonderful. I mean, so for me, it's so we just had a rehearsal for everyone that's watching. So I still have the music in my head as we're having this conversation. So all of this is making sense, because one of the things that I remember thinking at the rehearsal was, wow, like not only is the lyricism incredibly beautiful, right? So it's one thing to have good music and then the lyrics aren't to the same level. Everyone kind of goes, oh no. And then when the inverse happens, oh no. But when the lyrics and the music are in the same level, that's when it really, really hits you, right? In other words, if you have a passage in a poem, for example, and the music is able to reflect that same emotion in the words, that's when it hits you as a listener 100%. So Mariela, your music does that. And in many of these songs, and I know some of these arrangements, which we'll get into in a minute, you work with Jesse Audello, another saxophonist here and amazing musician in San Diego. Also, your husband Tongo Rasmal, who's like an amazing musician on like way too many instruments that it gets me mad how amazing he also is on every instrument. But so your music does this, but it does this in a way that's super accessible, which to me is so important, because you can have a message, but if the message if you can't connect with the person listening to the music, then in my opinion, what does it matter? And when you look at some of the greatest songwriters that we have, I mean, in my opinion, Antonio Carlos Jobim, I mean, Burt Bacharach, like all these people, they're able to take these amazing emotions, this profundity in lyric and also in music, and make it relatable. So it makes so much sense that a lot of your early influences and main influences are pop music, because I can hear it in your music, and that's why it hits so hard. And the beautiful thing is you write in English and Spanish, right?
Right.
So it's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I'd like to add some stuff to what you said about accessibility. After growing up with pop, and seeing how accessible pop is, as I mean, sometimes we hang out with some musicians that maybe, or let's say this, sometimes pop has a negative, ¿cómo se dice?
Stigma.
Sí. A negative stigma, because it's simple and because it's accessible and because it's easy to sing back. But I'm always, and I absolutely love when somebody can sing a song with me. So if I can write something that will get you to sing with me, and we are going to sing together, and we're going to live in this beautiful melody together and get all the benefits from music while we sing, I'm all for it. As negative as the stigma is with pop music sometimes, yeah, it is accessible. And if you're singing about love, if you're singing about positive messages, I think it's a wonderful thing to do. Why not make it accessible? Why not make it so that people can sing with you? Since music it's free, it's for everybody.
What are some of so I'm looking here now at the set list. So what are, maybe if you can walk through some of the lyrics to some of these songs, if you wouldn't mind. I know Pies en la Tierra is one of my favorites. Tenemos que hablar, Paso a Paso. So why don't you give us what is your favorite of the set list that we're going to play tomorrow? And why don't you walk through their lyrics just a little bit so people get a little bit of a taste?
That's very hard. I actually have, I love collaborating with my friends, and a lot of the set list for tomorrow has collaborations with three of my good friends that have grown in music with me. Like you said, Tonga Rasmau and Jesse Audello and Omar Lopez is another person that I've collaborated with recently. That this just encapsulates encapsulates. Did I say that right? See, Spanish, English language learner still. So I look at the set list and I think collaboration, and I think unity, and my favorite song. That's hard.
One of your favorites.
One of my favorite ones.
What about okay? I'll pick one. Can I pick one then? Can I pick one? Pies en la tierra, because this one has a very Siete días empieza. We'll do two because they're also.
I told you it's hard.
Okay. Do first Pies en la tierra. We'll talk about that one really quick, and then we'll go Siete días. Siete días. I love that song. So Pies en la tierra. What's that song about?
Pies en la tierra. That's a like a little mantra that my mom would tell me all the time. So I have a tendency of dreaming very big and having a big imagination, and like nobody can bring me down from my dream. And my mom would gently grab me and tell me, pon los pies en la tierra. So she would tell me, put your feet on the ground, be grounded. You can dream, but you need to be realistic. So it became something that I needed to hear all the time. So I wrote a song wanting to dream but staying grounded, and it's also a symbol of roots, stay grounded, remember where you come from. And it's something that I always want to sing, because I always want to remember where I come from, and I always want to remember that dreams are accessible. We just gotta keep grounded, remember where we come from, and still dream, keep dreaming. So that's that song.
Do you have any of the lyrics on hand by chance?
I remember them.
Oh, maybe can you give us a few stanzas so people can hear a little bit?
Song?
No. I mean,
can I say it?
I was thinking about I was thinking about just the lyrics, but if you want to flex on everybody and
Well, the actual translation is available on YouTube. There is a translation of the song, and like I said, accessibility. A lot of these songs are in Spanish. Most of them are in Spanish, and even though they are in Spanish, you could hear the intention. And there's a lot of words in academia. We use cognados, and I try to write my songs whenever they're in Spanish. I try to write words that are very, very similar to the word in English. So even if I'm singing in Spanish, when I say certain words, you're probably going to get them because they sound the same and they look the same as English. So that's part of the accessibility in the songwriting as well. But pies en la tierra. Pon los pies en la tierra, me dijo mi madre, no encuentro manera de hacerte entender. Un sueño tan grande no tiene fronteras, no existen barreras que no puedas vencer.
So, please. But just so whoever doesn't speak Spanish, so put your feet make sure you firmly plant your feet in the ground. Mm-hmm. There aren't barriers that you can't overcome. Correct? Please correct me if I'm not translating it to the same poetic license.
No, of course you're doing a great job.
Keep going.
Busco un lugar para soñar en paz con vida y comunidad. I'm looking for a place to dream in peace, in community, and liberty. Busco un lugar para soñar en paz con vida y comunidad, libertad. Atrás cada huella deja camino, con cada paso. Atrás cada huella deja camino, con cada paso llego más cerca hacia mi destino. With every step, I get closer to my destiny. Mm-hmm. And I always look back at my steps. So just like I want to stay firm and grounded, I look back at the steps that I walked and I say, hey, those are the steps that it took for me to get here. I can keep going. Yeah. Beautiful.
And what this became now a meditation on like mindfulness and, life lessons. You're going to get a little bit of everything at the show for everyone watching and listening. Okay. What about Siete Días? This one I think is, so this one you did. So who did the arrangement for Pies en la Tierra?
Jesse Odell.
Jesse, and then Jesse did Siete Días as well?
Yes. Yeah, those were my first release songs. So I'd never really released anything original until Pies en la Tierra and Siete Días. So those are the very first ones.
Wonderful. And Jesse will be playing with us, right, at the show?
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful.
Playing with us, yeah. Siete Días is a song. It's a song that Jesse and I wrote to remind and to honor the people that need to leave their home place for survival mostly, and they have to leave behind their families, their things, mostly their families and their loved ones, because they're going to either find an opportunity or they're being moved because of violence and because and for all the reasons that we know, they're having to relocate, and they don't have much time to relocate. And Siete Días, I think, is it's a song that honors that journey, the journey that people have to move from the place where they are so that they can find peace, so that they can find work. So that's our way of honoring that experience. So it's a loaded song, and you can hear it in the music, you can hear it in the lyrics. It's our way to honor that experience.
Can you share some of the lyrics with us?
Sure.
A few stanzas.
7 días me dijeron que no hay nada que temer, que si cruzo la frontera una vida nueva espera. Dejo familia, dejo amor, cargo recuerdos y dolor. Me voy sola y sin decirle adiós. Hasta luego, mi amor.
So let's go line by line, because these lyrics are very, very well written and extremely, to use musician talk, very heavy, right? Yeah. But they're very profound. Yeah. So Siete Días, 7 days.
Yeah.
Go
Siete
ahead.
días me dijeron, they told me, Siete días me dijeron, there's nothing to lose. When I cross the border, cuando cruzo la frontera, una vida nueva espera. There's a new life that awaits. Mm-hmm. I leave my family, dejo familia. I leave my love, dejo familia, dejo amor. Cargo recuerdos y valor. I carry memories and courage. I'm leaving alone and without telling. I'm playing with words, but without telling God or without saying goodbye, sin decirle adiós. So it could be used for both uses. Yeah.
It's super profound and very, very just very reflective of, in my studies when I was doing my dissertation, this kind of story is very, very familiar, and perhaps a lot of people here in the San Diego, Los Angeles, Southern California area know it as being reflective of the Latin American experience, perhaps. But, that's the experience of many people around the world, having to choose to leave what they know, not necessarily because they want to, many times because they have to.
Right.
Right. So even though these lyrics are in Spanish, it's reflective of a very challenging, sometimes horrific experience that people have to do all over the world.
Yes.
Right. It's a very heavy human thing that you're talking about here, even if the lyrics are in Spanish, right? You're speaking about a lot of people, and especially given the current events now, about a lot of things that are happening right now in the world. But again, in such a poetic, beautiful, impactful, accessible way, and of course what Jesse did with the music is a masterpiece.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. And also, I always think of my music being connected to what I teach my kiddos in school. And we teach a lot about migration, and we teach about people having to move to adapt, for adaptation, and how we, as humans, we've been moving around the globe for a very long time. And it's not just the experience of many people around the world, but it's also time. We've been having to move for a very long time, whether it be for weather reasons, for climate reasons, for political reasons, for survival reasons. And I use this music to keep echoing that to remind all of us, that this is happening. It's still happening. It's happening all over the world. It still is.
Very much
Yeah.
so. Yep. Amazing. Okay, why don't we do one last one? There's so many here. I'm looking at the set list now. Which one would you like to share with the people watching to give us a little bit of a backstory?
We could do. I'll go with Todo a su tiempo. Todo a su tiempo is the newest one, and it's probably it just captures a message of staying in the present moment. Todo a su tiempo means everything at its time. We're either living in the past, we're either living in the future, and it's hard to stay present. And to me right now, where I am in life, I just need to hear that a lot. I need to hear todo a su tiempo, todo a su tiempo, todo a su tiempo, viviendo el momento. I'm trying to live the moment. I'm trying to enjoy the moment. And I know, well, going back to my kiddos in the classroom, I know I always teach them mindfulness. Like you said, you got some feelings of mindfulness. I always try to tell the kiddos, we got to stay right here in the moment. So I try to live it, and I try to sing about it so that I can remember that constantly and keep it in my mind, and also so that others keep me accountable.
Absolutely.
My family is like, wait, didn't you write a song about that? Why aren't you practicing it?
Remember your own mantra.
Yeah.
Well, and this one's going to be a salsa, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes. This is my first time I write I guess it's a Latin jazz tune or a salsa. I'm still trying to craft it. And well, we're trying to craft it. Jesse and I are trying to craft it. So we're trying to figure out what it's gonna be. It's still fresh. It's a fresh song.
And that's the beautiful thing about music, right? It's always kind of changing depending on the people that's in the band and what the situation might be. So why don't you tell us a little bit about these people that are gonna join the stage with you? Because from the rehearsal, when I was looking around, I was like, oh my goodness, look at these musicians that I'm in this room with. We have it's such a good band. So who are some of these people? Who are some of these musicians?
Well, first of all, I'm so grateful that I have this band, and I'm very grateful that they're bringing the music to life. When you write down in your notebook, you're like writing your song, writing your melodies, but then when you hear other people's interpretation of the music and how they're adding their own influences to the music and their own style, it's just so beautiful. And all of these musicians were carefully chosen and were intentionally chosen, because I knew that they would carry the music the way that everybody that I collaborated with had it in mind. Some of these musicians include Julian Cantelm on drums, Kevin Freeby on bass, Tonga Rosmau on keys and guitar, Giovanni Mejia on guitar and cuatro. Jesse Audello on saxophone and flute, Derek Cannon on trumpet and flugelhorn, and of course David Castañeda on percussion, and that's it. I wish I could have had more. I always love more musicians. That is
a bonkers lineup. I know mostly all of those folks, and wow. And then having is it okay if I ask a question too? Just I wanted to reflect a little bit, because oh my gosh, that is an amazing array of artists. But what I'm really curious about is when it sounds like you're really in touch with who you are as a person, and so I see this out here in just being part of human. Is that some of us get locked away from that. Some of us don't. We don't know who we are. We can't tap into that. Is this something you feel it comes naturally, or is that something you feel like you work at, and you like a regular, like a muscle that you exercise with? Is this something you exercise with, or do you feel like it's just a natural part of who you are?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you so much for making a note of that. I think I've always been very aware, but I honestly, I think life has helped me and nudged me to be more self-aware of what I'm doing and how I'm affecting people around me. Teaching has been a beautiful, beautiful service that I've recently started doing, and I think teaching has really started to shine a light on my impact in the world and who I need to be able to impact newer minds to be able to keep this world growing and being better. Of course, there's been situations the last few years that have nudged me once again to find the beauty in life. There's some songs on the set list that are about losses, about losing friends and important people in my life, and I think even though those situations have been hard, they have brought me closer to being to keeping my feet grounded, you know, to being in touch with my humanity and what I'm doing in this earth.
Awesome, awesome. That's it's a. I'm trying to come up with the words, and it's something that when you unlock that, when you have the ability to unlock that you know, it's an inspiration, and I hope, and yeah, I'm sure you're inspiring countless students out there, but even people that may not realize that they need to unlock this within themselves. So kudos to that. All right, I want to hear more about these musicians because they're stellar. I'm sorry I had to interrupt because it
No
was just
apologies.
touching me.
Thank you, DJ. Thank
All
you
right.
so much. Musicians.
Yes.
Musicians. Well, you know, I'm very grateful to be in the music scene here in San Diego because um, there's a lot of people that have supported me, and I've had the honor to support them too throughout the years. I go way back with a lot of these musicians, and I mean, I'm married to one of them as well, to Tonga, and I every musician that I invited to be part of this concert is extremely important to me and where I am right now in life. I mean, I'll bring up Giovanni. Giovanni Mejia is an amazing guitarist and tres en cuatro player. He gigs around town, and he's just a treasure, an absolute treasure to gig with. Kevin Freebie, a wonderful, versatile, very very well listened and rounded musician, bass player, who I also go way back with. Probably one of my first gigs here in San Diego was with Kevin Freebie. So I'm grateful that I get to make music with him. Julian Cantelm as well. One of my first gigs in San Diego was with Julian, and he's also like, he just grabs the music and he like really takes care of it, and I know it's in good hands when he's playing. And Derek Cannon, el profe, mi profesor. Derek Cannon is just, he has taught me a lot, and he has given me words to live by. He's been one of those teachers. He's the music director at Grossman College, and he has given me the truth. Told me, Mari, this is what you're facing in music. You're a woman and you're a Latina. You're gonna have to work extra hard, you know, to be heard. So he's always just kept it very real with me and made sure that I get the motivation to keep going. So Derek is just a wonderful, wonderful person that has impacted my life. Jesse Audello, I've grown with him, and we've grown together, and we're still trying to figure out how to best make music to advance in music, and not just music that's just music, like intentional music. And then Tonga Rosmau. Tonga Rosmau is my husband. He is an amazing instrumentalist, and I learned so much from him, and I'm just very grateful that I get to watch his growth and how he moves around music. I've learned a lot from him as well. And of course, David Castañeda. I haven't been gigging much with you, but I'm trying to change that so that we work more. I've had some amazing conversations with you, and you have helped me see the big picture of the world in music. And I'm just so inspired by you. I'm always very inspired by you and the work you do and your studies. And I can't wait to work more with you and to learn more from you. Yeah.
That's so nice of you. I mean, I'm very inspired by you though, and you're the figure that's bringing all this music together for the show. So I the musicians you have in this band are amazing, but they are supporting you as an artist, and you're an amazing artist. You're an amazing songwriter. You're a fantastic stage person, right? Because I mean, I can go on and on. I'm telling you, I'm a huge fan. So I hope that what happens is this band gets to perform more and more, and that your music gets out more and more, and then people say, "Where's the CD? We want the CD. Where are you performing next?" And you're able to say, "Oh, I'm here."
Yeah.
And it starts filling up, because the music that you're bringing forth, like you said, it's intentional music, and it's very much so. You can tell that even on the first listen, right? The lyrics are there, the music, the arrangements are there, and the messages behind the music, everything is very much in line, and it's very difficult to do that. And the way that you do it is something very, very, very special. So I want to make sure that I give you the space, and everyone knows that Mariela Contreras is amazing, and this show is going to be fantastic. And I'm hoping to see many more shows where you're in the spotlight, and you're on the stage, and everyone's watching you and listening to you, to your poetry and to your songwriting. BJ, do we have any questions from the chat?
Not currently, but I wanted to add too. You and I, David, kind of hit on this before Mariela joined us for our little sound check. But there's something that happens with a musician when they surround themselves in people that lift them up, and those people are there because they are the type of person that they want to be around and are inspired by that similar artist. So I mean, yeah, just to echo what David has said, because you've surrounded yourself in wonderful musicians, but these musicians are choosing to surround themselves with you because they respect your work, and it's a community you've built up. So I mean, that's amazing. That's awesome, and I'm so excited for tomorrow's concert to see everybody on stage. Awesome.
Thank you. And like I said, yes, if it were up to me, I'd have like all the San Diego community with me up there, because I'm missing a lot of wonderful musicians that I would love to be working with. It just so happens that for this particular concert and for this particular music, I wanted to be, yeah, like you said, around people that I'm very inspired by, and that I know will, like I said, grab the music and really, really care for it and love it and interpret it the way that we envisioned it, but also adding their experience to it.
Oh, wonderful. Awesome. Well, I'll let you guys continue. Thank you for that moment.
Thank you, BJ.
Absolutely. So I also know about you that not only do you write your own music, but you also sing in a salsa band, which is an amazing salsa band here. You're also part of a lot of other projects here in San Diego, which I also have to take a little bit of a moment to say, anyone watching, wherever you are, a lot of people talk about Los Angeles, but the San Diego music scene is home to so many fantastic musicians, and it's such a rich, vibrant place for the arts, not only music, but the arts in general, right? So there's like a really rich community here of musicians, and Mariela is part of some amazing projects as well. So we're only going to get a glimpse of her music, but she also is, like I said, this multifaceted person, this singer, songwriter, vocalist, educator. So tell us some of the other projects you have going on other than this show.
So right now I'm currently part of a wonderful salsa band called the Sabrosas Latin Orchestra. Big shout out to the ladies. It's an all-woman salsa band, and it's made up of amazing women musicians around town here in San Diego, and it's been I'm one of the newest members, so I'm still getting to know the ladies. I'm still getting to know the music. It's salsa is a whole different ballpark to sing, and coming from like a Mexican pop background, uh, my vibrato has been put to the side for this project, because there's stylistically there's a lot of changes that I need to start making to be able to interpret and honor the genre that I'm interpreting, because the music that we are singing over there is from legends. We're keeping alive music from Oscar de Leon, from Willie Colon, from who else? Jose Arroyo. We're maintaining those messages and those beautiful messages, and I think it's very powerful that it's women interpreting the music. At this point, I'm going through a certain rewiring of my brain, and how I've approached music. Sometimes the beautiful thing about music when you hear it is you don't know if it's a woman or a man playing it. You don't know if the instrumentalist is a woman or a man. You don't know if the color of their skin is dark, or you don't know if it's white. Like, that's what I absolutely love about listening to music, is it doesn't have that, unless you're at a concert watching it, right? But my personal approach to all of this is like, I want to see more women playing instruments. I want to see more. I would love to see the San Diego scene call upon some amazing instrumentalists that we have here that are women. And being involved with the Sabrosas Latin Orchestra has like opened my own view and perspective of how I go about choosing musicians, you know, and how I go about like listening to music as well. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to learn. I'm relearning and I'm rewiring my brain to start changing my perspective, and giving women opportunities, not just behind a microphone, but also behind a bass and also behind keyboards. And that's
Percussion.
Yeah.
Percussion. Monette plays in that band, and Monette is like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
Monette
Yeah.
scares me. She's so good. One of the first gigs I ever saw her at, she's like, why don't you come sit in a song? I'm like, what are you talking about? No, I will watch you and take notes. Monette is so good. That band is amazing.
She's part of the band. Monette Marino is part of the band. I was actually brought onto the band by her, and she's a huge inspiration to me. Very big inspiration to me.
Mm-hmm. She's amazing. Okay, what else? So we haven't heard anything about your education endeavors and you teaching. So I want to make sure that people also know that about you, because that's, as we've heard, that's a huge part of who you are, not only as a person but also as an artist and as a songwriter and lyricist. So tell us a little bit about that.
About education. Well, I'm a very, very, very proud 6th grade teacher now. I got moved to 6th grade, and I teach in Chula Vista. Here in Chula Vista, I live and I teach in Chula Vista, so very close to the border. And I teach kiddos that are pretty much border kids that live here in the border, that get to experience the richness of and the proximity of Mexico influences, the U.S. and also the border. So I've been trying to teach. I don't teach music right now in school. I teach language. I teach Spanish language arts, and I teach history and science, and I teach it in Spanish. I teach it at a bilingual school. So half of the day the kiddos are learning in English, and half of the day they're learning in Spanish. And I've been trying to put music in as much as I can and use it to help them with vocabulary, help them with the fluidez, with the fluency when they read. We've been doing rap battles, which has been pretty fun.
Rap battles.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know if it's fun for them, but it's fun for me. They're like, teacher, we're gonna rap again. Yes.
Do you battle them, or do you make them battle each other?
I make them battle each other.
Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, we could battle whenever you want, David. We could do that.
Oh, what? Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. BJ, is that acceptable on the show notes?
I think the gauntlet has been thrown. So
we got a battle now.
We're gonna reserve maybe 15 minutes tomorrow night's concert.
Yeah.
Oh,
Throw down. Just
BJ's
throw down.
BJ's saving you right now, Mariela. BJ's saving you. BJ's saving
Yeah.
you.
No, because I'm giving you time to prepare. I mean, David, I'm giving you plenty of time to prepare because
Me prepare?
Well, I'm not making any judgment calls.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the fluency, you know, in reading, when you're reading, you want to make sure that you have a nice rhythm and a nice fluency to your reading, whether it's in English or in Spanish. So I try to bring in music into the language because it's not a separate thing. There's music in everything. There's music in math. There's math in music. There's there's music in language, and there's music in everything. Mm-hmm. So I really try to make music my medium of teaching the rest of the subjects in school, even history.
It's so powerful. I mean, it's music is so visceral, you know, and it's so very much connected to everything. Like you just said, history. You shared with me one time a super powerful example of how you use music to teach even, I guess, what we could say like critical race theory or like as a way to introduce these kind of difficult conversations about race that we often have to have in this country, but that we want young people thinking about already at a young age to learn to be sensitive. And you shared with me that you actually use music to do this as well.
Yes. I can think of one example. There's this song from Mana. I mean, this one is not completely Selva Negra. It's called Selva Negra. This one is specifically about climate and about indigenous rights and how Mana, the group, sings about how as humans we've abused the earth and its plants and its roots and its people. It's people of origin, the people that lived there first. So that's one example where we grab the song and we break it apart and we look for different metaphors, similes. We look for any kind of comparison. We look for different. I'm thinking of the word in Spanish. De literatura. We look at literatura and we look like, okay, so what are they doing here in music? How is the musician using these different figurative language strategies to tell us their point, to tell us that we're abusing the earth, we're doing this. So that's one example. Gracias a la vida is another example. We talk about movements in fifth grade. We specifically talk about the different movements that have happened in the past and that are still happening. And we look at the music we look at how humanity tried let me rephrase, how humanity uses music and art to express their worries and their and sometimes their anger towards a specific political movement. Gracias a la vida would be one. That's the main one that we use, and we look at how if that music actually makes an impact on and how it changes different political laws, even laws, if it has the power to change laws and how it's impacted different movements. So that's all tied together.
It's so amazing. I think it's so amazing that you're using music in the arts to teach not only things like literary techniques, right? But also, like you just said, like the bigger conversations that younger people need to be clued into, and I mean, in my opinion, need to be clued into, that they should be aware of. For me, one thing that I've always taught is that the arts are a way it can serve as a window for us to understand what kind of challenges people were going through at any given era, right? If you know how to listen to what they're saying, if you know how to understand the music within its cultural context, then it can afford you so much insight into the challenges different people were facing. And the more that you can do that, that's also the beginning of cultural sensitivity, right? How do you interface with people who have different challenges in their lives, perhaps challenges that you aren't even aware of, given your own upbringing and your own life? How do you interface with these kind of people respectfully, such that we can create a very harmonious, respectful, informed global community, right? Because I mean, it's 2022. It's very much more like a global community than it was 100 years ago. So
Right.
these kind of things through the arts can be taught so viscerally. And I think that it's so fantastic that you're starting them so young, right? Because the longer that people can be privy to these kinds of conversations and start to chew on these problems by the time they're adults, and the kinds of conversations that we can be having productively are much better, so thank you for doing that. I'm thanking you not only as a musician but also as an educator myself. That's amazing.
Well, I a lot of before I started kind of doing this, I went around to all of my buddies and the people that I know are very much involved in these conversations, and I asked around, and one of the persons that I asked was you, and you helped me really like start looking at, okay, so if I were to express and I were to like teach music of the world, where do I even start? Where does it all start? And I remember having that conversation with you and how much I started learning about it. And also my teachers, my guide teachers, I'm new to teaching. And I have some amazing mentors and people that are there, that are like, I'm going to call them a system agitator, which is the term that I've been hearing. And that's what they do. They grab the system and they just dance with it. And like I said, it's all music. So I'm hoping that I can keep using music as a tool to bring awareness for different topics,
Wonderful.
I love that sentiment. I love using that as a means for change and opening up dialogue. But also, I would also say that you're giving students the tools that they need to be able to express and to be able to, like we were talking earlier, to unlock something within themselves to be able to share the messages. I mean, even your husband Tonga has been helping the museum do this through the San Pascal Academy, which is those the kids going through that program this is something that they've been able to use the tools to. They have a lot of challenges, and so we've incorporated the program there with the museum and through Tonga and through the work that you are all doing to give them the ability to cope, to express, to manage an individual perspective through music. So not only is it capable of this, societal change, nudging us in the right direction, opening up those dialogues and experiences to one another, but also hopefully, impacting them so that they can become a more whole person. So yeah, I love that sentiment. I think it's absolutely on the mark, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, to keep that moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm totally giving a shout out to the Museum of Making Music for those wonderful programs that they offer, that I've heard so much about, and I see, and that's, I think, an organization that has that plus these concerts that are supporting local musicians, and you could see the love and you could see the care, and I'm just very honored and grateful to be able to collaborate with the Museum of Making Music and all its wonderful sponsors and people that are putting this together and also helping the community.
Oh, we couldn't do it without the artists. We'd have nothing to share. So, I mean, you're just as important as the venue itself. You could still be you without the museum there. So, and still send the message. But we're glad
you give
to
us
make
the platform.
We're glad to be there to give the platform. We're happy to do that.
Thank you.
David and Mariela, I know we're coming up upon our hour, and I want to be respectful of both your time. Is it okay if I talk a little bit more about the concert coming up and share that with folks?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so what we have going on tomorrow, everyone. Mariela is part of the San Diego Sound Project. We're sharing her music, and as you've heard, she's organized this wonderful community of musicians and will be performing at the Museum of Making Music tomorrow night, Friday, June 17th, 7 p.m. You can get tickets to that event at museumofmakingmusic.org, and if you're not able to join us in person, you can actually enjoy the concert on our live stream. It's an online-only experience. You can RSVP for that. That's totally free. to sign up for the online live stream. And again, go to museumofmakingmusic.org to access that and to RSVP. Please let us know you're going to watch, or we'd love to have you there in person. I think, I don't know, you guys might share in this, but having a live performance experience is one of the most fulfilling things you can do as an artist. But and I think one of the most fulfilling things you can experience as somebody who enjoys music, who enjoys that experience. So it's a two-way relationship. So we love, as artists, we love having you there, and as listeners, it's such a dynamic and a vital experience of being part of the human condition.
Yes.
So anyway, I want to thank both of you. Thank you, David, for guiding our conversation, and thank you, Mariela, for providing such wonderful music, and we're looking forward to tomorrow night's concert. I'm looking forward to it immensely.
Thank you so much. Thank you, BJ, and thank you so much, David, for the interview. Really appreciate all the questions and the wonderful conversation. Thank you, BJ, for jumping in as well, and thank you for all your help. You know, this concert has been postponed, and it's finally happening.
It's finally happening. It's worth the wait.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We would love to see you all there. You're welcome. Mi casa, su casa, mi concierto, su concierto. Come on over. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, thank you. It wraps up another episode of Show Notes. We hope to see you at the concert, or if not, if you can't join us live, please join us online and share in this experience that we want to share with you. As always, have a wonderful day. Take care, and we'll see you next time. The San Diego Sound Project was made possible in part by the Conrad Prebys Foundation. Additional support for live streaming was provided by the City of Carlsbad Cultural Arts Office. For more information about this program or any upcoming San Diego Sound Project